So what happens to these drugs when they pass through a person's body? We talked about the Clean Water Act of 1972 and the Safe Drinking Water Act. I'm not sure what date that came. I know that was later. But if you look at the first bullet point here, this is from the Rhode Island Clean Water Act. It's 6.1.5. It is the policy of the state not to permit the introduction of pollutants into the groundwaters of the state in concentrations which are known to be toxic, carcinogenic, mutagenic, or teratogenic. We have that law. We know that we can't discharge these. It doesn't give a household exemption under the Safe Drinking Water Act or the Clean Water Act, unlike RCRA, which does. So we have the responsibility to our neighbors and to our families to control the waste that comes out of these patients. I actually have a legal opinion, if you would like to read it, that states that it's illegal to use your bathroom in Rhode Island if you're on a cytotoxic chemotherapy drug. I'll get that to you. If you just look at the chart, septic systems, if you excrete it in 24 hours, it's well known to wipe out the septic systems. If you go to our website, we do have a link to, it's called Pumper Magazine. It's a trade magazine for the people that pump out septic systems. And the article is, Say No to Drugs. Tell your patients, tell your customers if they're on a chemotherapy treatment not to use their toilet because it's wiping out the septic systems. If it wipes out your septic, it's going right into your leaching field. We have documentation of many areas where nothing grows over the leaching field. You know where it's going right into your drinking water and back in. They're nasty chemicals, and they're very dangerous. Next slide. So, create a solution for Rhode Island families. So I like to say, we put a car on the moon, we can collect pee in a cup. We don't want to be flushing these drugs down the toilet. Patients have been giving urine samples and stool samples for hundreds of years. What Pharma-Cycle does is create a way to do it safely and discreetly, and we think cost-effectively. The next slide. Just go quickly through the Pharma-Cycle safe system. There's really three components to it. There's the hospital. Now, a patient gets infused with this material. Even if they're staying in the hospital has to contain the waste. Unfortunately, 85% of this is done on an outpatient basis. So while you're at the hospital, we hand you, hey, pee in this container, we collect the waste. At home, we mail you a box. We send it UPS. We've talked to FedEx, UPS. It's perfectly legal to mail the materials to you. You do your business. You collect it, you put it back in the box. After the waste has been reacted with the Pharma-Cycle reagent, it's safe to be transported under DOT regulations. So you mail it back to us. It's nice and simple. We then take it to a central location where we'll bulk it up and send it to a hazardous waste disposal facility. We have an elaborate hazardous waste disposal industry in the United States. We know how to handle chemicals once they're contained. It's not a difficult thing to do. We just have to realize it and figure out how to do it. Just the last slide, so I'm going to run through it quick. We're also working on same-day delivery. I explained the Pharma-Cycle reagent does a couple other things. First of all, it makes all liquids disappear. They're solid within minutes. We also raise the pH to kill any pathogens. For a couple of reasons. You don't want pathogens kicking around. Germs are bad. But if you're smelling urine, you're smelling urine with cyclophosphamide. If you're smelling with doxorubicin. So that's part of it. We raise the material up. It's solidified within minutes, and then it's chemically sequestered in a matrix of inorganic and organic polymers where it's safe to ship and will never be released. And then we transport it to places that don't have drinking water sources, don't have rainwater. We also have additional supplies to help reduce the common sources of contamination. We give you straws and utensils so that you're not mixing your saliva with your family. We give you paper sheets. We give you gloves so that you're not touching. And more importantly, we give you instructions, say, hey, you shouldn't kiss your kids for a couple days. or don't have your grandkids come over. Now, just stay away from people, because you are going to be hot for 2 to 5 days after an infusion. And we know who's on these drugs. We know how long it takes to pass through their bodies. We know how to handle it. We just have to recognize it. And I think that once we do, it's going to be a much healthier Rhode Island.
Has your company come up with a figure per patient? Per cycle of chemo? So actually, there's 2 questions. If I'm scheduled to go for 8 rounds of chemotherapy, and I'm not up on the numbers on how many rounds that each particular, whether it be breast cancer, liver cancer, or whatever. Obviously, there's more chemotherapy for the hot spots, meaning your liver, pancreas, or anything like that, rather than breast cancer. I'm not sure if I'm saying it right, but is there a suggested cost that you have saying that if you have breast cancer and you have 12 treatments, it's X amount of dollars per treatment?
Right now, the patients that we have that are paying for it themselves, it's roughly $1,000 a treatment. Now, that being said, a patient can go between 2 and 6 infusions, so you're looking at between $2,000 and $6,000.
So that's like covered for all the treatments?
That's covered all the treatments.
Front to back?
Front to back. In the relative scheme of what a chemotherapy treatment costs, it's minuscule.